So what's really the problem in America? Racism or classism? Before anyone gets upset, I'm not saying that racism doesn't exist. What I am saying is that it's not the biggest problem that minorities face in society. The color of your skin isn't going to be the biggest hurdle when trying to get ahead in this country. I should mention that I'm a first-generation American of Hispanic and Asian descent. In my lifetime, I think I've experienced racism maybe 2 or 3 times. The first time was when my high school football team went to play in a rural, ignorant part of town. Some would say redneck part of town. During the game, there were a couple of times when the refs made suspect calls, but we thought that they were just being a-holes giving preference to the home team. I remember that there was almost a team fight because one of the opposing players kicked one of my teammates while he was down and the refs didn't call it. But it was what happened after the game, as we were leaving the school, that we experienced blatant racism. People, players, and parents were screaming racial slurs at us and actually throwing things at the bus. Here's the thing though, after this experience, my friends and I didn't think that the whole country was racist. We saw it for what it actually was, some dumb hicks showing how stupid and backward their thinking was. I guess we were tougher back then. Another instance was when I wanted to rent an apartment in a part of town that there's a large Filipino population, and the manager, a Filipino woman, wouldn't even give me an application because I wasn't Filipino. Of course, she didn't straight out tell me that that's why she wouldn't give me the application, but it wasn't difficult to figure out. Ignorance isn't racist, it infects all skin colors. Racism does exist, and I have encountered it in my life, but it's never held me back. I wasn't kept from playing football because I'm Hispanic, and I wasn't forced to live out on the streets because I'm not Filipino. I don't think that racism or systemic racism is a real issue in today's society, despite what some minority multimillionaire celebrities might tell you. Classism, on the other hand, is a problem. People are discriminated against much more often because of their socioeconomic level than the color of their skin. But unlike the color of your skin, tanning and bleaching don't count. You can change your socioeconomic level. We have to change our culture. The fact that less minority kids go to college isn't because of the color of their skin. It's because of their culture. I was having lunch with one of my cousins last week, and he was telling me about how another one of our cousins blamed systemic racism for the fact that Hispanic kids are less likely to go to college than white kids. My cousin responded, "Are your kids going to college?" The answer was yes. Well, my kids are also going to college. So I guess that 100% of Hispanic kids in our family are going to college, right? So where's the systemic racism keeping them back? I had to give him a fist bump after that. You see, I can go to a low-income part of town, and I know that the majority of the kids in that part of town aren't going to go to college regardless of the color of their skin. And then I can go to an affluent part of town where I know that the majority of the kids in that part of town are going to college. It's the culture. Growing up, school wasn't a priority for me. My parents didn't push me to go to college. They told me to go to school and get good grades, but that was about it. So we need to change our way of thinking. We need to start teaching our kids how to move up in society, whether it's by going to college or by learning other skills that will help them move to a higher economic class. And generation by generation, we'll see our children and our communities lift themselves out of the poverty that they're in. The color of our skin isn't stopping us. Our mentality is. So what do you think? Do you agree that it's the mentality of the lower socioeconomic class that holds them back? Or is it a racist system? Let me know in the comments below. Okay, moving on. Abortion. Trigger warning. So why would I vote pro-choice even though personally I'm pro-life? As a father of 3 children, the thought of a baby being aborted is revolting to me, and I'm strongly against it. However, I don't see it as murder, not if the baby can't survive outside of the womb. I can talk about different circumstances in which an abortion might come into play, but ultimately, I feel that it's up to the woman, her doctor, and her family. I'm raising one of my daughters in a way that will minimize the chances of her having an unplanned pregnancy, and consequently, ever even having to think about getting an abortion. I say one of my daughters because unfortunately, I haven't been able to be a part of my oldest daughter's life, but that's a topic for another video. Anyway, in the very unlikely event that my daughter would ever think about having an abortion, I would strongly advise against it and offer other options. I would do everything in my power short of locking her in her room until the baby's born to keep her from having an abortion. Some would say that even though she's my daughter, I should have no say, that it's her body and I should keep my mouth shut. No. It's not just her body. There's a living human being and my future grandchild inside her, so I am most definitely not staying quiet. Her decision affects me directly, and so I'm going to have my say. However, if the neighbor's daughter wanted to have an abortion and nobody asked my opinion, in that situation, yes, I would keep my mouth shut. You see, the alternative, having we the people, and by extension the government, whether it's at the federal or state level, decide for the individual, will lead us to a dark place. There's an old saying that goes something like this: if the camel gets his nose into the tent, the rest of him is soon to follow. The government will slowly try to control other aspects of our lives until we have no freedom, and everything we do will have to be approved by the government. Now, the arguments for restrictions or an outright ban on abortion correctly point out that the woman shouldn't be able to make that decision because there's another life involved. I agree that there's another life involved, but I equate it to someone being on life support and a third person deciding whether or not to pull the plug. Now, if a baby somehow survives the attempted abortion and is left to die, then that's murder, and everyone involved should be held accountable. If a baby can survive outside of the womb, then the baby should be delivered, not aborted. Again, that's murder. I'm going to sidetrack a bit so you can have a better insight into my way of thinking. As an agnostic theist, again, that's a topic for another video, I believe that our soul is eternal. Most religions agree on that. I believe that in every chapter of our existence, or what we call a lifetime, we're meant to learn and grow spiritually. I believe that our subconscious decides the situation that we're born into, and that situation will help us grow spiritually, until eventually we move on to a higher plane of existence. So ultimately, I believe that if we weren't born into the body that we're currently in, we would have still been born, just in another body. That said, I believe that as a society, what we should be doing is teaching our young women, and men for that matter, that life at whatever stage is precious, that it's something to be guarded and nurtured, that it can result in unimaginable beauty and evolution and awakening for us all. Every child that's born has the potential to take our entire species to heights that we can't even dream of, especially in this country. And we should also teach our young women and men that actions have consequences, and that they should take responsibility for their actions. It starts with education, and it starts with the family. If we can teach our future generations to value life and see it for the wondrous thing that it is, I believe that abortion won't even be a topic of discussion in the future. But I'll say it again, even though I have such strong feelings against abortion, I won't vote to allow the government or any third party to tell my daughter that she can't, or infinitely worse, that she has to have an abortion. And that's why I would vote pro-choice. Okay, let me calm down a little bit. What's next? Okay, right. Capitalism versus crony-capitalism. So many people conflate the two when they couldn't be more opposite to each other. Capitalism is a system in which the free from manipulation, exchange of goods and services results in prosperity for everyone involved. Crony-capitalism, on the other hand, is a manipulated system in which special interests pay off politicians and or bureaucrats to rig the system to benefit them. This results in monopolies, price gouging, and lower quality goods and services. The technology sector, for the most part, has been able to stay free of crony-capitalism. And look at all the advancements that we've had in the last few decades. True capitalism is what made this country into arguably the greatest country in human history, while crony-capitalism is one of the things that's destroying it. There's a popular saying that says that money is the root of all evil, but that's not the entire saying. There's a part missing, a very important part. The complete saying is that the love of money is the root of all evil. In other words, greed. We need to guard against human nature. A free and true capitalist system focuses on supply and demand and has natural guards against abuse and manipulation. Let's talk about some of the reasons why some people say capitalism is bad. I saw a clip on YouTube that was talking about how capitalism is responsible for the death of this planet because of burning fossil fuels to make unnecessary products. First off, if there weren't a demand for a product, companies wouldn't make it. And second, if it wasn't for capitalism, you wouldn't have all the equipment necessary to make your video while sitting in your climate-controlled home with high-speed internet. I saw another video. I'll link all the videos I referenced below so you can watch them if you like. So the second video is on the Jubilee channel, and it's from a series of videos they produce called Middle Ground. They're good. You should watch them. Anyway, this video sits capitalists and socialists down to see if they can find middle ground. At one point, one of the participants points out that restaurant workers make very little money for very hard work. Okay, let's take a dishwasher for example. Yes, it's tiring work, but it's not difficult work. Most anyone can do that job, and that's why it doesn't pay much. So if you think that dishwashers aren't paid enough, tip 100% next time you go out to eat. Because if you want the restaurant to pay them more, that $10 burger is going to be $20. And what are you most likely to do when you see that $20 burger on the menu? Go to the restaurant across the street that sells it for $10. So put your money where your mouth is. You can't just say that someone should be paid more without thinking it through. Every action has an opposite and equal reaction. But this is taking me to a different topic than the living wage topic, and that's for a future video. For now, I'll just say that in a capitalist system, you're going to get paid what people are willing to give for the particular product or service that you provide. So let's go over some of the pros of capitalism and some of the cons of crony capitalism. The pros of true capitalism: more competition. In a true capitalist system, the government doesn't create barriers for entry to a particular business by placing unnecessary regulatory and permitting burdens on a new business. This allows for more competition and helps guard against monopolies, better quality goods and services. Because big business can't keep out the competition through their lackeys in government, big business is forced to compete for customers by improving their goods and services. More upward economic mobility. Because there's no minimum wage in a capitalist system, people can't support a family by flipping burgers. So they start by flipping burgers, then become a manager, and hopefully move up to owning their own franchise. I've seen it happen. Or they educate themselves and acquire skills which will get them a job that will allow them to support a family. There's so much more, but I'll stop there for now. If you have a counterpoint, please comment below. Now, the cons of crony capitalism. Monopolies. Big business pays off their buddies in government to make it virtually impossible for new, smaller businesses to enter their space and compete with them. So you get lower quality goods and services. Because there's little to no competition for big business, they don't have to earn your business. Customers can't go anywhere else, so why should they worry about improving their goods or services? Less worker growth and prosperity. Big business will gladly pay $13, $14, or $15 an hour for a job that's worth $5 an hour if it means that the small business down the street will have to shut down and they'll have less competition. There's less motivation for a worker to better themselves and move up because they get comfortable with just making ends meet. Okay, I'm going to get slightly off topic again. I've heard people say that if you're a business and you can't afford to pay people a living wage, then you shouldn't be in business. Not every job is meant to pay enough to support a family. A living wage is the reason that it costs $60 to take my kids to McDonald's. When my dad took us to McDonald's, he paid much less, even when you account for inflation. If a teenager making my burger is working a part-time job at $5 an hour, it's going to be a lot more affordable for me to take my family to McDonald's. But because here in California, for example, there's a $13 hourly minimum, that family trip to McDonald's costs $60 instead of $30. And if the difference between $30 and $60 is insignificant to you, then you're privileged. Good for you. But you need to understand that in your quest to help the poor make more, you're literally making it harder for them to feed their families. Not to mention that the teenager who would have gained valuable experience at a young age from that job won't be able to get it because an older, more experienced worker was willing to accept the $15 an hour. Alright guys, that's it for this video. If you enjoyed it, please press like and share it. And don't forget to press the notification bell so that you're notified when I release a new video. If you want to support me and help me make more and better quality videos, check out Consequential Gear in the links below. I'm launching the store on Black Friday. It's high quality gear for a fair price and the designs are pretty cool if I may say so myself. Alright guys, have a productive and successful day. I'll see you in the next video.